So hello and welcome back to episode 2 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. It's myself, Barry Doyle. I'm with Andrew Blair-White for a second week. And before we go any further, Andrew, a big thanks to everyone that got involved last week. It was a great response to the show, Andrew, and plenty of interaction.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We want as many people as possible to get involved and have their selections down below in the comments or on Twitter. So it was great to see it go down so well, and I hope everyone continues to enjoy.
Absolutely. So we're just going to go through the rules again for those who weren't with us last week. So between now and the Cheltenham Festival, me and Andrew Blair-White are taking on each other, and we're taking on you, the viewer, with one Ante-Post selection each week. Now, there is wildcards to play. We have 3 wildcards, which are worth 2 points, and you can play them at any stage between now and the Cheltenham Festival. Listen, we're going to kick off the show as we do every week, Andrew. Gowran Park, Haydock, Ascot, Naas, Cork and Navan with a feast of action this weekend. And we're going to kick off the week with the performance of the weekend. Of course, bearing in mind and keeping our sights firmly on Cheltenham in March.
Yeah, look, it was a brilliant weekend, as you said. Some very honourable mentions for a few horses over in England. Bristol de Mai was obviously brilliant in the Betfair Chase. Unfortunately, looking forward to Cheltenham in March. He's unlikely to win anything. But to see him go back and win that race again was great. Imperial Aura was seriously good, I thought, in the Ascot Chase. He's such a good jumper. He seems to get on with David Bass so well. So those two I'd certainly have had in the shortlist for performance of the weekend. But it was Willie Mullins' weekend over here in Ireland. He was firing the big bullets with his novice hurdlers, novice chasers. I know you're very sweet on an Ergamine, but I was really, really impressed by Black Bow's novice chase or beginner's chase performance at Navan yesterday. He was given a canny ride from David Mullins and nipped a few lengths out in front, but he jumped really well. I think people forget how good a horse this was as a bumper horse. Things obviously went off the rails a little bit. He was injured for a year. His hurdling career last year wasn't the best, but he's a big, fine horse. Chasing was always going to be his game, and he put in a real serious effort to beat him too, because on his reappearance there yesterday, if people haven't seen it, I do urge them to go and look. He jumped for fun and really travelled very, very smoothly. But Willie Mullins, as I alluded to there, fired an awful lot of big bullets this weekend. Some quality horses out there. So it could have been any number, but Black Bow gets my vote.
You brought me on to one of the topics that I wanted to discuss anyway, Andrew, because we put up a poll. Champ.ie put up a poll on Twitter, and you mentioned Willie Mullins firing a few cannons this weekend. Of course, Gordon did 3 weeks ago. Is his big weekend, of course, in Down Royal. But 4 novice chasers. He looks well stocked now, Willie Mullins, in this division this year. You just mentioned an Erganame on Friday, Janadale, of course, at Naas, Black Bow at Sunday. And of course, we mustn't forget as well Unaccepted as well, who was impressive a couple of weeks ago back at Tipperary. And we haven't even seen Monkfish and the big getaway and a couple of more others to go chasing. So he looks well stocked, I suppose, in that division. But we asked Champ.ie viewers on Twitter what was their favourite performance, and 30% Black Bow, Andrew, was people, now whether people were, I suppose, affected by short-term bias or he was mightily impressive. I have to agree with you. An Erganame, look at, I'm going to mention him, whether he goes for the Arkle or Marsh, whether he even goes to Cheltenham at all. Didn't go last year. Willie did say, of course, that he reckoned that he would be talented enough to go this season and chase. And it was a lovely surprise as well, because we didn't know he was going over fences. Willie said he was going to keep him over hurdles. And then, of course, he did go and make his debut over fences at Gowran on Friday. Point-to-point winner as well. And someone did point out on Twitter, have point-to-point winners won the Arkle in the past? I know he's as short as 12-1 now for the March Chase. But you'd have to think the way he jumped in the early stages. Obviously, there wasn't much in the race. But, he travelled with plenty of zest, jumped very fast. And I think a lot of clues as well, looking at Paul Townend after the race. He looked pretty impressed. And it's not often you see Paul Townend smile like that. And I thought Erganame was mightily impressive. stepping up to, well, he obviously started off at 2 mile 4. Willie said after the race, Paul had said that going back and trip wouldn't be an issue to him, and they'll keep something at Christmas. Janadil, of course, has to be mentioned as well. He's won, obviously, in the JP Silks. Would you have thought that the race that's no longer the Close Brothers at the Cheltenham Festival, would that have been an ideal target? But certainly, all options are open for him as well. It'd be interesting to see the route to go down with him and Unaccepted. For me personally, I'd have to see Unaccepted do it again. I don't know about you. After last year and the disappointment at Christmas, would you be of similar ilk? He's as short as 16-1 for the Arkle. I'd have to see him do it again personally.
I do think he could be a seriously good horse, but as you say, you'd want to see him do it in graded company and be able to jump the way he did against stronger opposition, because bigger tasks lay down the line. And I suppose Greatfield was never a horse they could even get to Cheltenham to run in the Arkle or the Champion Chase. So it would be interesting to see whether he's as fragile as his full brother, or whether he maybe has that little bit more ability and a bit more durability as well to go and take on some of the bigger races.
Well, I'm going to blame you and Thomas Kyle for maybe setting up a couple of fake bot accounts and swinging that election in the favour of Blackbow, because second place there was 28% within Ergedem. I think he's the most impressive of the Mullins 4 that we've discussed. But another Mullins horse that made his debut over hurdles at Gorham Park. It was a fantastic race, a ding-dong battle between Fernie Hollow, which is as short as 6-1 now for the Supreme, and Bob Ollinger, who won a bumper at Gorham Park. He's 16-1 for the Ballymore. Two cracking horses. Andrew Blair-White, if I was to ask you which of those, if I could offer you a share in either of those two horses, which horse would you be taking?
Jeez. Look, they're both seriously good horses. I think actually, on the basis of just overall long term, I might take Bob Ollinger. I just think he could be a really lovely staying chaser in the making. Fernie Hollow's a horse I think has the world at his feet ability-wise. There's no getting away from that. But I am still a little bit bruised that he came and did me in the Champion Bumper last year unappreciated. So there's still a bit of a warming process back to him now for this year. And he's awfully short now for the Supreme from an Ante-Post perspective. But they were two really good horses. They both seemed to jump quite well. Fernie Hollow settled better than he did in bumpers as well, which was good to see. Geez, you'd love either of them really. But I think Bob Ollinger, he mightn't be a Cheltenham prospect for this year, but maybe next year as a novice chaser. We know how good Henry de Bromhead is with novice chasers. We'll see him to best effect. He could be a real smart horse in the future.
Thought he travelled well actually on the front end, and it was a slow run race, so the race might have been run to suit maybe Fernie Hollow with that. Obviously he was a Champion Bumper winner, quickened up well obviously but I think the two of them definitely are smart, and of course appreciated 10-1 for the Ballymore. We must discuss him as well before we move on from the Willie Mullins horses. He was mightily impressive at Cork. I thought only won by was it a length or two, but for me he's a Ballymore horse. He was running over 2 miles. He was very slick over his hurdles, I felt, and there was a big gap back to the third. Thoughts on appreciated?
Yeah, no, I was really impressed as well. He's a horse I like an awful lot. I think for an awful lot of these early season races, maiden hurdles, beginners chases, you're really looking at how well these horses jump first and foremost, and he jumped really, really nicely. I don't think he's a 2 mile horse, to be fair. I think he's a 2.5 mile horse, as you've just alluded to. I can't see this horse, because I know some people have suggested it. I think the last place this horse will end up is the Albert Bartlett this year. People have him down as being a slow plodder. He's got some turn of pace, actually. People, please go and look at his Leopardstown bumper wins from last year, where he scooted clear in 2 back-to-back bumpers, both of which have been well advertised. He could have won much more easy on Sunday, but I'm sure they were awfully happy with how he travelled, how he jumped, and bigger targets down the line. But I think 2.5 miles is probably where we're going to see him to best effect.
On to England, just very quickly, Imperial Aura has to be a Ryanair horse now, does he? Would you even say, like, Would you be going Ryanair with him, or would you think that he deserves a crack at maybe something like a King George? Maybe step him up to 3 miles. Personally, when I saw him at the weekend, I was thinking this horse now should be going 3 miles. He should be given his chance against the best in this division. You see Lost in Translation has bombed. Clan de Zobo is not going to the Gold Cup. Santini, we haven't seen him yet. Top of the game is out. Is this Surname? Is he proven to stay 3 miles, let alone 3 miles and 2? Is this looking at an more open division than we originally thought? And could Imperial Aura? I think the trainer has said he's going Ryanair, but I'd like to see him step up to 3 miles personally.
Yeah, look, he shapes like he definitely get 3 miles. I saw an article today, unfortunately, saying that I don't think they're going to go for the King George, which is a bit of a disappointment. They would have had to have supplemented the horse. Look, he's a brilliant jumper, which is the great thing about him. He's such a lovely horse to watch because he's just attacking his fences so much. I do think they will probably just stick to the Ryanair this year. I'm not sure about the Ryanair. I think it could end up being quite an open division and not that many proper Grade 1 horses in there. If you even look back at last year's race with St. Calvados coming second, like I know Min still holds a chance, but Min was just about clinging on in the Ryanair, and I think is actually still probably a better 2 mile horse than a 2.5 mile horse. Obviously, I quite like Allaho for the race, but we haven't seen him yet this season, so we're yet to know of his well-being. So I think apart from that, there's not actually that many main protagonists in that race, and I'd certainly be fancying Imperial Aura to make a much better mark on it than some people are trying to make a mark with Fakir Duderie for the race or something like that, who was zero chance in my eyes. But I thought he was really good, and I really hope he continues progressing. He's a proper Grade 1 horse.
Coming on just out of the race at Ascot, the Grade 2, Song for Someone. Thought he was quite impressive. Could we be looking at him for something like a champion hurdle, Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know whether he'd have maybe the tactical speed for a champion hurdle. Based off what I saw on the weekend, he looked like the exact type of horse you'd be sending at the Aintree hurdle over 2.5. I'm not sure he doesn't want to go up to 3 miles. I'd be just dubious over 2 miles with them. They might have a crack at the champion hurdle. They'd be more than entitled to, but that race was fairly pants. There's no getting away from it with Lorena, unfortunately, not looking a shadow of the horse she once was. And Call Me Lord's always been a little bit of an underwhelming sort. So you have to, I suppose, be a little bit tempered by
you talk about you talk about tactical speed. The one thing he did do was jump incredibly quick. Song for Someone, which in a champion hurdle, you have to do. And there's some of them there at the top of the market that you'd have to wonder, did they jump like champion hurdlers at all? Like, I think he's definitely coming in. If they did decide to go this route with him, he's definitely coming in under the radar. I could definitely see him lining up in here. Obviously, we don't know where he's going to go next. Well, I haven't heard where he's going to line up next, but it wouldn't surprise me if he developed into a champion hurdle horse this year. You know how open the division is, and he's slightly unexposed as well, especially at the minimum distance. If they did drop him back, you look at some of the past winners of the Coral Hurdle, the likes of Annie Power. I think Faheen has won it in the past as well. So it has thrown up a champion hurdle, and you do need to stay to win a champion hurdle. So it'd be just interesting to see the route to go with him. I wouldn't rule him out at all of lining up in a champion hurdle. And 33 to 1. I'm not going to suggest. I want to see him again, obviously. But again, it looks like an open division. You look down through there at the moment, 3 to 1, Epitante, Saint Ra, 7 to 1, Abacadabra, 7 to 1, Goshen. We're likely to see him, of course, in the Fighting Fifth this weekend. Honeysuckle, would she go champion hurdle? Probably not. Then you're down to the likes of Aspire Tower, Jason the Militant. Something is going to step in here. And for me, I wouldn't discount him at this stage. That's Song for Someone. Was there anything else you want to mention this weekend, Andrew, before we come on to our selections for the week?
No, I think we've wrapped it up pretty well there. The Willie Mullins horses were obviously the main talking point over in Ireland, and Imperial Aura was much the best over in England, I suspect.
Andrew Blair-White, your selection of the week. First of all, are you playing a wildcard this week?
No, I'm not playing a wild card just yet. Still going to keep those ones close to my chest. And this one is a real speculative punt. It's in the any race market, available at 25 to 1. It's available at 25 to 1 with both Sky Bet and William Hill. So it does fit your 2 bookmaker stipulation. And it is a horse called Wide Receiver, who I personally believe might be Gordon Elliott's Martin Pipe horse for this year. He's run in 3 maiden hurdles already this year. He hasn't won, he's won in 2 maiden hurdles and a grade 3, of which he's finished second, third, and second. I've looked back at the last couple of runners that Gordon has had, like his main Martin Pipe horse. Column of Fire last year had 7 runs over hurdles before Cheltenham. Dallas State Picton had 4 runs over hurdles. Blow by Blow had 5 runs, and Champagne Classic had 5 runs, and Squiator, who was the favourite for him in 2016, had 5 runs as well. So he likes to have his Martin Pipe horse properly tuned up. There's still an awful lot of improvement to come from this horse jumping wise. He was bought to be a pretty handy horse. He's now in that rock and a hard place. He's not going to develop into a grade 1 novice hurdler for Cheltenham, so it wouldn't surprise me if we see him maybe win a maiden hurdle, then an eye-catching run in a handicap at the Dublin Racing Festival, and then it'll be 6 to 1 for the Martin Pipe, and we're on at 25 to 1 any race. Wide Receiver.
Interesting. Of course, the race at Jigginstown as well have a good record in, so that's the Martin Pipe. For me, this week is all about getting points on the board, Andrew. I think last week we went with Eldorado Allen. He was one that definitely impressed me at the Cheltenham Open meetings. And looking ahead to next weekend, the long distance hurdle, it has to be about McFabulous for me. We have to mop up the last bit of those double figure odds on McFabulous, because after this weekend, Andrew, it's all going to be gone. Every single I think it's the biggest price in here, and it does tick both boxes. Technically, it's Betfair and Paddy Power, but it's 12 to 1. I'm taking on McFabulous for the Stairs hurdle. And Andrew Blair-White, I said I want points on the board. I'm going in again this week with my first wildcard selection, and it has to be the Royal Bond winner. She Wears It Well. I'm backing her 6 to 1 for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. It's a short price, Ante-Post, but what price is this horse going to be when she wins on Sunday?
Well, what price is she going to be if she gets stuffed by Ballyadam, though?
I don't think she will. No. She Wears It Well is going into. She's on the team sheet, 6 to 1 for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. That's a 2-pointer. That's my first wild card pick. I only have 2 now between now and Cheltenham Festival. She's probably the horse. It was either going to be between her, Chacan Poursois, or Appreciated, but she runs this weekend, so I have to play a bit of tactics here as well. Get her on the board, 2 points. That's She Wears It Well, and that's actually a little Ante-Post tricksy that I have done. I never do multiples Ante-Post. I'll put that one for you. Chacan Poursois, Appreciated for the Ballymore, and She Wears It Well for the Mayor's Novice. I think those 3 are probably the 3 most likely winners at the Cheltenham Festival for Willie Mullins this year. Album Photo obviously has a chance as well. You like him. But I suppose that wraps it up for this week, Andrew. And just to go back on last week's selection as well, I had Eldorado Allen for the Arkle Chase. What did you pick, Andrew?
Nasalam for the Triumph Hurdle for Gary Moore. So I have put in 2 left field ones to start off, Barry. One for the Triumph and one potentially for the Martin Pipe. It's I'm playing a risky game, but if one of these lands, I'm in clover.
Are you trying? When are you going to start getting points on the board yourself, Andrew?
I would say I'll
guaranteed points.
I'd say probably soon enough. You know, looking ahead towards Leopardstown at Christmas time. That's usually when I start to really starting to form my opinions. The Christmas racing is often so informative. So a few wild cards might be coming around then, and then I might leave one for maybe just before the Dublin Racing Festival to land another blow.